My name is Jeremy Wade, angler, biologist, and freshwater detective. I've travelled the world to uncover the river monsters behind mysterious and bloody attacks. But for every case I solve, another floats to the surface. On the Canadian border, I've heard of a vast and brooding lake that hides a dark history. For Native Americans, it is an ancient and sacred site. But recently, something has risen up from its murky depths to attack swimmers.
They are extremely fast, extremely aggressive. They're very difficult to kill, and they want your blood.
What's behind this nightmarish invasion of primordial bloodsuckers? I'm embarking on a punishing mission to battle the most ancient river monster I've ever encountered and reveal the true identity of the vampires of the deep. The myth of the vampire has a terrifying grip on our imagination. Ancient, undying, and forever feeding on the blood of its human victims. I thought Latin America was home to the only real vertebrate to drink human blood, the vampire bat. Until I discovered an equally bloodthirsty catfish with very nasty habits living there too, the candiru. This fish is just leaking blood. It's not this fish's blood, it's something it's been feeding on. It is just an absolute nightmare vampire fish, this thing. Now I'm hearing that there might be another aquatic vampire attacking humans. A lot bigger and a lot more bloodthirsty than the candiru. This time not in South America, but in North. On a vast body of water straddling the border between the US and Canada. Lake Champlain, where a vampiric creature is said to be targeting swimmers. One story tells of a man who attempted to swim the 6 miles across the lake. In the middle, something seized onto his leg. He kept sinking as he struggled to get free. When he finally got away, he was left with a strange circular mark, said to be the bite of a bloodsucker. I've come to the lake to find out if these attack stories are actually true.
Just a couple of hours in the air can tell you so much more than several days at ground level. Flying really reveals the lie of the land, or in this case, the lie of the water.
I've already heard reports of giant pike and 10-foot sturgeon, but the best way for me to identify a perpetrator is to get a line in the water. The question is, where do I start? This vast lake is 125 miles long and in places plunges to 400 foot deep.
During the last ice age, this was actually an inlet of the Atlantic Ocean, and all manner of creatures were free to come and go. Seals, walrus, even whales, and who knows what else.
Native Americans have fished this murky lake from the last ice age right up to the present day. For a tribe called the Abenaki, or People of the Dawn, it is sacred, home to powerful underwater spirits. Tradition demands they make offerings of tobacco smoke to placate the spirits before setting out on the lake's often treacherous waters. When Europeans arrived, the Abenaki way of life changed beyond recognition, but some of their fishing expertise has survived. Roger Longtoe Sheehan, chief of the Elnu band, shows me tools that have helped them catch fish from the lake for centuries. These look like some kinds of fishing implements. What exactly are they?
A gouge, which is made of bone. You put your bait over the top of it, fish would swallow it, and when you yank it up, it gets caught inside of them, and you pull them up.
Sort of a forerunner of a hook, in fact, just a simpler version of that.
You have bonefish hooks, which are real common here in the Northeast. They're not as strong as the gouge because they can crack away here. So here you have bone fishing spears made out of moose bone, again wrapped with cordage and then covered with the spruce tar to make it waterproof.
Today, few Abenaki use traditional tackle, but they do still rely on traditional knowledge handed down over millennia. Knowledge I hope will help me close in on the mystery bloodsucker. I'm looking at this body of water here, and I'm thinking you'd be waiting a long time until you get some kind of target.
Except for when you know where they are, like when they're spawning into the rivers, in which case we have many accounts of, the fish being so thick that people say you can almost walk on them.
So although this is a big body of water and the fish at the moment, are pretty spread out, but if you know the times and the places,
yes,
you can go to where there's a very rich food source.
Yes.
The Abenaki people discovered a very long time ago that at certain times of the year, certain of the creatures, in fact, come very, very close to the edge of the lake, even enter some of the rivers and streams that feed it. And the reason they do this is to breed. And it turns out that I'm actually here at about the right time. So it's now a case of pinpointing those places. Some of the lake's bedrock is around 1 billion years old. There's something very eerie and ancient about this place. Roger's told me that some of the predatory fish here are incredibly ancient too. One, which some Native Americans call the chowsaroo, occasionally gathers in the shallows to breed. It's going to be a challenge to get their attention.
Fish on.
What I thought was a bite was in fact the hook catching on this tough creature's armour. Not reacting at all. I'm trying to remember the last time I fished with so many fish visible in front of me, but the lack of interest is really frustrating. But occasionally, if you just get the lure in their face, it just tempts this reflex. Yeah, oh yeah, that's one hooked, that's one hooked. I'm just hoping that hook stays attached. The fish some Native Americans called the chowsaroo, I know by a different name. This is a long-nosed gar. Very, very ancient fish. That armour plating was probably protecting it against pterodactyls back in the day. And those teeth, very, very spiky and sharp. The Abenaki use the gar's teeth to carve tattoos, so these fangs can certainly draw blood. But I can't see how this elongated snout could create the circular bite described by the swimmer. If I'm to find the culprit, I need to scout out more potential breeding sites along the lake's shore. The lake sits between two mountain ranges, which act as a wind tunnel. Gusts of 60 miles an hour have been known to whip calm water into 7-foot swells. I'm grateful my hunt is confined to the margins for now. We're actually right in the shallows, a couple of feet deep, if that. Conditions are not ideal, but at least that is making it harder for the fish to see us, potentially. So we're just nosing around very slowly to see if we can see any movement in the water. thing about fish is even in shallow, clear water, it's amazing how they can hide. Can a carefully placed lure entice a predator with a taste for blood out of hiding?
Hey, here we go. It's in the weeds.
Oh, yeah. Oh, hey! Whoa, this is a bowfin. That was just a black shape with a horizontal white line. This is a toothy animal here, but also very colourful, amazingly colourful. It's believed this vivid green is designed to attract females in the mating season. I'm holding it with this grip because even with these gloves, those teeth might go through. Quite a similarity with snakehead in a way, the head, the teeth, that eye spot on the tail. Bowfin are a relative of the gar and the only survivors of an ancient family of fish that evolved around 100 million years ago. This lake really does feel like a sanctuary for some of the oldest fish on the planet. Their swim bladder can act as a lung, letting them survive out of water for several hours, and their impressive jaws can close like a vice, easily drawing blood. But nothing in this reveals the perpetrator I'm looking for. These are not the jaws of a bloodsucker. In fact, it looks like this fish might have been on the receiving end of an attack.
If I just have the fish slightly supported,
Actually,
just behind this pectoral fin, there's this red circular mark. And something's had a go, done something to this fish. Attached to it, rasped it, which ties in with some of the stories I've been hearing.
is the mystery vampire leaving the same circular wound on humans and fish?
Amazing that even a fish as tough and aggressive as a bowfin is not immune.
It makes me think that the bloodsucker I'm after is even more aggressive and powerful. But where is it lurking? Large predators sometimes wait in ambush on the edge of fast-flowing water. It's time to hunt out the places where the currents are strong.
What we tend to think of as an enclosed body of water is in fact a lot more complex than that. There's actually a couple of hundred of these waterways feeding the lake, and from up here they're almost like watery tentacles reaching their way inland.
More than 8,000 square miles of surrounding forest and mountains drain into these rivers and streams, making their flows highly volatile. On the western shore, I've found a river that has deep, churning water and plenty of eddies for toothy predators to stalk. I've scaled up my lure from one that looks like a bug to one that looks like a fish to attract larger hunters. The predators here don't hang around. That something looks a bit carp-like on the end there. Right, so that's what that took. That's interesting. Sucker-like mouth. About the same size as the wound on the fish, but it's rubbery. It has no teeth, so I can't see how this fish could create that red wound on the bowfin with suction alone. This is called a red horse sucker, so the red is very obvious, the sucking mouth is very obvious. And it's actually gone. It's gone back into the river. Well, that fish, to me, looked like a herbivore, a vegetarian. That toothless, sucking mouth. So what was it doing going after something that very clearly was mimicking a fast-moving live fish about 6 inches long? There's definitely some stuff going on in this river that I'm struggling to understand. In my travels, I did once come across vegetarian fish turning into carnivores, the Amazonian pacu. When it was translocated halfway around the world to Papua New Guinea, it stripped the rivers of vegetation and turned into a voracious meat-eater, terrorizing local fishermen. I wonder if the balance in Lake Champlain is out of kilter too, enough to change a fish's behavior so it attacks other fish and humans. I've no way of knowing until I catch it, so I have to keep knocking suspects off the list. A flood control dam presents migrating fish with a problem, and me with another opportunity, if it weren't for the changing weather.
This wind actually coming under the bridge here is really making bait presentation difficult. A lighter fly is just getting blown back. I want to get it right at the bottom of that waterfall there, so I'm putting on the very heavy metal head. And what I want to do is flick that right where the fish are packing and see if anything's actually interested in taking a little snack before the ascent.
Oh, I'm getting some interest, but from what, I'm not entirely sure.
This is a strong fish. Okay, it's fairly light tackle, but I shouldn't be surprised that it's strong because this has been swimming against basically a rapid there.
This is not what I expected at all.
Oh, yes. That's a lovely fish. That's a carp. And behaving though almost like a salmon. This fish was running up rapids, but caught on a fly. A very light tackle, this fast water. That's very unusual fishing. Thing is though, carp shouldn't be here. They're not native to North America. So that makes me think, well, what else could be in these waters that is not exactly expected?
More than 80 species of fish are known to live in the lake. The sheer number makes my quest for the vampire of the deep far from simple. Heading into the deep water where the attack on the swimmer took place seems like an obvious next step. But it's going to be a lot harder to hunt down contenders out here. I've got to step things up again.
I've now got 3 lures out now, 2 flashy silver spoons arranged on this downrigger outfit here, so an 8-pound lump of lead, the line clipped to that, and then the lure following about sort of 30, 40 feet behind. And then I've got a surface lure out from this outrigger here. So we're going along about 2 miles an hour, and it's really a waiting game now, waiting for one of these rods to move.
I've no idea where the predator might be hiding, so this spread of lines lets me fish both the warm surface layer as well as the cold, dark depths.
Fish on! Here we go. There it is. There we go. Toothy predator, lovely patterning on it. And that is a lake trout. Now, people think of brown trout and rainbow trout fish in shallow waters, but this is a deep water species. It's actually very cold to the touch. This is my first one of these, and it's just a lovely, very nicely marked fish. Hey, what's going on there?
This fish is marked in more ways than one. It appears to be another victim of the mystery attacker.
Something's had a go at it.
It looks just like the mark I saw on the bowfin, and in the same place. I've got to get my bait back in the water to find out just how widespread these attacks are.
This has also got something behind the pectoral fin.
And what I find is victim after victim.
Just by my little finger here, there's a mark.
It looks like these hunters have become the hunted.
There's 4 of these fish I caught today, and they've all got these strange marks on them. So that's a 100% record. Whatever it is has been hitting these fish. The thing is, the only thing I know that leaves marks like that is giant squid on things like sperm whales. But where does that leave me on a freshwater lake.
Although it was once connected to the open ocean, the idea of giant squid here now, I'm not convinced. So what else could account for these distinct wounds? I still don't know. But one thing I'm now sure of is that whatever's behind the attacks on fish must be responsible for the attacks on humans too. And finally, I have an opportunity to find out the truth. I've heard of a long-distance swimmer named Christopher Swain, who's got an attack story to tell. He takes me back to the place where he came face to face with a primitive creature from the deep.
Can you take me through exactly what happened?
I was in the midst of a 129-mile swim of the entire length of the lake. Most of the days were relatively uneventful. It's the same old thing. That day, I'd been swimming for 2 or 3 hours already. The very first thing felt a lot like when your mobile phone's in your pocket and it vibrates. And the next thing I thought was that I'd caught on something. Sometimes it's a plant.
But what plant could catch him in 100 foot of water?
So I reached down to brush whatever it was on my leg off. And I touched a living thing that was attached to me. There was something thicker than my wrist around that was moving like this. That I just had a bit of a freak out. Because the next image that I saw when I put my goggles in was snake-like. I made another try to grab it, and it slimed right out of my hand.
So this thing that's on your leg, it's writhing around, what was it?
It turned out to be about 3.5, 4 foot long sea lamprey.
Sea lampreys are survivors from the depths of time. Like aquatic vampires, the adults are blood parasites that attach to other fish to feed when in the ocean, but they head into freshwater to spawn. Their mouths are made up of a powerful suction disc lined with rows of needle-sharp teeth. In the center lies the ultimate weapon, a piston-like tongue tipped with rasping plates, which bores its way into its host. Once attached, it may feed for hours, days, or even weeks, growing fat on its prey's blood.
I ended up pulling it off, and the first time I pull it off, it shot back on. They don't want to be removed. So I got a hold of the thing finally, and I managed to throw it. So I remember seeing it like in the air, like a snake flailing around and fall.
This thing, it somehow just short-circuited your rational response in a way?
You know, I've been caught in lightning storms. I've swum through nuclear waste. I've been run over by boats. This is the thing that got to me the most. They're extremely fast, extremely aggressive. They're very hard to fight. They're very difficult to kill, and they want your blood and nutrients.
It turns out I'm after a formidable and unhookable aquatic vampire. So how do I possibly catch one? Sea lampreys usually attach to larger fish in the ocean to feed, but recently it seems they've begun to attack swimmers too, who've dared to venture into the lake's deeper waters. But what exactly are they, and why are they attacking humans? I'm hoping one woman has the answers. Dr. Ellen Marsden has become a specialist in these resilient bloodsuckers, which are commonly confused with eels. But this is by far the most ancient river monster I've ever attempted to catch. Seeing eel and lamprey side by side, the difference starts to become clear.
This is a true vertebrate. This is a protovertebrate. It's just in the process of becoming a vertebrate. It doesn't have a bony backbone. It has no bones in the body at all. It's so primitive, it doesn't even have a true jaw. It has no lower mandible. It can't bite, whereas an eel has a true jaw and can actually bite into something. So it's a fish, but it's the very beginning of the fish lineage.
Around 300 million years of evolution separate these two animals. In fact, we have more in common with the eel than the eel does with the lamprey.
So the predation is all about this structure on the front, is it?
Right. And it's rather deceptive because you think, wow, all those teeth. They are teeth, but not in the way we think of them. They're not to bite. These are just grippers. It's like having gripper gloves to be able to grab something that's slimy. The thing that does the damage is actually down here in the mouth itself. So it has a tongue, much like the eel has a tongue, and on that tongue are chisel-like teeth. So this tongue is acting like a piston. It's going to come out, and actually it rasps a hole in a fish. And again, it can't bite, so having rasped a hole into the fish, it's then going to use suction to suck body fluids, blood, and other material out of that hole that it's just made.
I've been catching fish on the lake here, and they are showing these very characteristic wounds. I've never come across that anywhere else. So what exactly is going on here?
What's going on is we have an imbalance between the number of lamprey and the number of fish they're trying to feed on.
It's believed that man-made canals connecting the lake to the ocean opened the floodgates to the lamprey. The environment they found was perfect, so they stopped returning to the sea. As their numbers climbed, so did the attacks on fish, and then swimmers. I've heard story after story, yet so far the lamprey has managed to elude me. So Dr. Marsden has put me in touch with a team from US Fish and Wildlife to see if we can catch one in the wild. The thing about a jawless fish is that I can't catch that in the normal way with a piece of bait on the end of a line, so I'm having to go about things a slightly different way. Instead of rods and lines, we're using up to 700 volts to temporarily stun the fish. Once transferred to a live well, the fish soon recover, and we'll be able to check whether they've brought any passengers with them.
Oh, that's pike. Big pike.
Well, the actual thing I'm after has eluded us, but there is quite a variety here of the lake's fish species. So there's quite a potential buffet here for any parasite with a taste for fish.
As we release the fish, we're just going to give them a quick once-over and see if the lampreys have left their calling card.
Poor sucker doesn't appear to have any wounds.
So that's sort of general wear and tear. I mean, you're looking for something that's specifically sort of disc-shaped.
Yes,
Yeah?
absolutely.
Right. This might be a bit of a handful.
Yeah.
Surprisingly, the first victim is one of the lake's top hunters. So that's pike.
This.
Oh.
It definitely, you can still see some muscle tissue.
So we've got a pike here. Pike is well known as a predator. I can see how a young pike might be unlucky enough to fall victim. But I'm surprised by what we find on a 20-pound adult. Right. And there's a mark here, just behind the pectoral fin. Possibly a lamprey's had a go at this.
Oh yeah, that's gone nicely.
So pike, I mean, they're a large, fast predator, and it looks like lampreys are not even afraid to take them on. The evidence of lamprey attacks is all around me, but frustratingly I still haven't found, let alone got my hands on, a live one. Then the team tell me of a river where lampreys head upstream in their thousands to spawn, where they are intercepted by a fish trap like no other. I'm going there to meet fish biologist Brad Young.
This dam was constructed specifically for the purpose of blocking sea lamprey adults as they try to spawn. It's about 9 miles upstream from the lake. So they've been able to swim up on their own from here. They can swim about 3 feet per second and go over rapids without any problem. So as they're migrating upstream to find places to build nests and reproduce, we intercept them in this trap, and the sea lamprey are taken out and destroyed on site.
Usually the river monsters I hunt are elusive creatures that are often revered or even protected. But it's a different story here. Culling has started to reduce the number of attacks, and the trap may be my only chance to get my hands on this primeval predator. But that means descending into a cramped concrete cell in the middle of the dam. a cell that could be harbouring hundreds of blood-sucking lampreys.
Oh! Ah! I think I just trod on something. Oh, there's a lot around the intake. A lot around there. Ah, I can just feel it's soft. Ah.
There you go.
Oh, yeah. I've just got a knot of lampreys in here, and it's quite a sight. There's something about anything snake-like. It just produces that sort of instinctive, squirmy reaction. I really don't know if I want to handle these. Right, here we go. Oh look, there's one attached to another one there. That's wriggling. Right, okay. There. Oh, right, okay. Do we put them in the other net there?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Ah. Look at this, look at this. Ah! That is a very, very strange sensation. Very strange, and it's looking me right in the eye. Ah, that's a good way to calm them down. But I now need to get it off and get it in the. Oh, look at that! It's actually. Oh, I've been bitten by fish before, but I mean that was pretty creepy. Ah, there's one. Something just went through my legs.
Using their mucus coating and boneless flexibility, these primitive bloodsuckers find it easy to outmaneuver me.
Right, that's a pretty good haul. That's me catching the lamprey. The next stage, which I'm not particularly looking forward to, is them catching me.
I've waded through their writhing bodies in a trap built to eradicate them. Now I'm going face to face, fang to vein, with a real living vampire.
And that's a strange feeling. That's a very strange feeling. There's suction, but there's something sharp going on as well. Ah, it's really getting stuck in there. Oh. The thing is, if you get these things attached, you're actually going to want to get them off. If you're swimming, you're needing your limbs to keep you afloat, to keep you moving. So what are you going to do? You've got these creatures attaching to you. Do I carry on swimming with maybe more and more attaching, or do I stop swimming, try and get these things off? Ah, easier said than done. Come on. That is hard to get off. That is hard. That is hard to get off. I don't know if there's a mark there or not. Hopefully there's not a big red hole. That feels a bit sore. I mean, these things are like aquatic vampires. I don't think that's an experience I want to repeat. Yeah. I think I've seen and felt enough.
But netting a lamprey in someone else's trap is not my idea of catching a river monster. I need to face up to this creature my way. To do that, I have to travel 2,500 miles to the Pacific Northwest, where I've heard that lampreys are caught using a traditional but dangerous technique.
This is the Pacific, and there's another species of lamprey that lives here. I've heard that it's bigger than the ones I've seen so far. It's also toothier. The scientific name means three-fanged lamprey. And they're found all the way from Mexico right up to Alaska, all the way around the Pacific Rim to Russia and Japan. But right now, it's breeding season, and they're coming into the rivers.
So that's where I'm heading. The Columbia River acts as a highway for salmon, sturgeon and lampreys as they head hundreds of miles inland to spawn. As we follow their migratory path, I can't resist dropping a line in to see for myself what kind of fish Pacific lamprey might feed on. I cast out 2 lures, each one anchored in a likely spot, fluttering enticingly in the current. Most of the movement of the rod tip is caused by the water. I'm waiting for a more definite sign.
Yeah. Okay. Ooh. Oh, that's going. This is a large fish. It's really making the rod tip bang just then. We're drifting down, aren't we? Good. We've actually cast off because this is a good sized fish, and rather than actually try and bring it up against this current, we're moving down to the fish. Right, getting close to the fish now. Oh yeah. We've come into the side because I don't want to put a tired fish back into the powerful current. I want to give it a chance to recover in the quieter water here at the side. This is a male Chinook salmon. Chinook are actually one of the tribes living around the Columbia River. And when you look at this fish, I mean, you can fully understand why this is such an important food source traditionally for the native people here. And these are fish that don't just come up in their ones and twos, they come up in their thousands up the river to spawn. But what it also does after breeding, it dies, so creatures like this are bringing in tons of nutrient from the sea. But I think the important thing now is to let it continue its journey upriver.
All the migratory fish heading up the Columbia and its tributaries have to contend with powerful currents as they journey sometimes hundreds of miles inland. But that's not the only challenge they have to overcome. Many obstacles stand in their way. The first is the Bonneville Dam. Constructed in the 1930s to generate electricity from the Columbia's powerful flow, more than 500,000 cubic feet of water can pass through every second. The only way that fish can pass through is by specially constructed ladders, but not all of them make it to the traditional Native American fishing grounds upstream. I meet a member of the Confederated Tribes of the Umatilla Reservation and fish biologist, Dr. David Close.
This is one of the earliest fish ladders for the Columbia River Basin. And so each one of these weirs has usually an orifice in the wall so the salmon can go through underneath, or they can jump over the lip of these. So these were all designed for salmonid species. However, the fish ladders don't really work that well for other fish species, such as white sturgeon don't make it through the fish ladders, and particularly bad for Pacific lamprey.
But with a river that is so rich in salmon, why are the lamprey also so important?
We not only harvest the fish, but we also have to look after them and take care of the river. It's part of our religion. And so that's the worry that we have with the disappearance of the lamprey. We're actually losing part of our religious beliefs.
A dedicated lamprey ladder has now been built at the dam in an effort to tackle the increasing decline in Pacific lamprey numbers.
That's the problem the federal government's trying to deal with now and trying to increase the passage for the lamprey at these facilities, which is good because we need that. We need people to be aware of the plight of the lamprey and how important they are culturally to our people.
A window into the fish ladder will give me a tantalizing glimpse of the creature so valued by the tribes, a creature I have yet to catch in the wild.
Well, here they are. These are Pacific lamprey, and they are quite a bit larger than the ones I've seen so far. And also the teeth are significantly larger, quite gruesome. And again, just the sheer numbers of them. This is a mass invasion of underwater vampires.
I find it hard to imagine how the annual arrival of such a gruesome animal can be celebrated. To find out more, I've arranged to meet up with members of tribes who've caught lampreys using the same technique for millennia. Over recent years, the confederated tribes of Grand Ronde have seen many of their customs vanish. But here at their plank house, some ancient traditions still survive. Greg Archuleta catches and cooks lampreys using traditional methods.
They don't have bone, they have a cartilage. So this thing has to be pulled all the way out. It's a kind of a real elastic cord. You got to get the whole thing out, because if you're not, it gives it a bitter taste.
So what you've got left is just skin and meat, nothing else?
Yeah. So now it's ready, we'll put it on the fire.
Given the choice of salmon or lamprey, many native elders go for lamprey every time. So I'm hoping this primordial predator's flesh tastes a whole lot better than it looks.
Have a taste.
I'll tell you what it reminds me of a little bit. It reminds me a little bit of mackerel, you know, because mackerel's very oily and you've got that crispy skin. Whereabouts do these actually come from?
These come from Willamette Falls, and actually my family came from that area. And from essentially time immemorial, we say, you know, our people have been there and fished there. Willamette Falls probably has one of the larger runs in this area now. They can come from the ocean to the falls without any obstacles, so there's still a good run there. But they are diminishing, so the tribes are working to try to get the runs improved again.
In the past, gathering this gift from nature was easy. Migrating lampreys literally covered the rocks at the falls. But now they're in decline, harvesters must negotiate the heart of the thundering falls and wrench them from deep rock crevices and churning pools. Entering the lair of this ancient bloodsucker is not only dangerous, but frankly horrifying. It's extremely rare for outsiders to join the hunt, but the Grand Ronde have made an exception. I hope I can repay their generosity with a decent haul of lamprey. Tribal Council member Peter Wakeland and his son Tory take me up the turbulent waters of the Willamette River towards the falls.
Bruises are very common. There's a lot of big boulders in there. It's very slippery.
Presumably you can't see anything?
I think it's definitely an art of feel. You're just going to be pretty much blind and feeling away down in there. Yeah.
150 miles from the ocean, we're on the same migratory path as salmon, sturgeon and lamprey.
Anything swimming up the Willamette River is eventually going to encounter this 40-foot high wall of rock curving round for 1,500 feet.
I'm awestruck by the challenge facing both the fish and us.
In terms of the volume of water, these are the biggest falls in the entire US after Niagara. And you can well understand how this is going to cause a pause in the fish migrations. And this is why people have been coming to this place for millennia. And it's into this water that I've got to go.
We're going to make our way up above these boulders. We want to work our way across the face and check in all those cracks.
I'll be working blind. The only aids I have are cotton gloves to improve my grip on these slimy, serpent-like vampires. Peter tries to shield me from the huge surge that's pulling at our legs under the water. Any of us could get sucked under and drown. The sound is deafening. I can barely hear Peter's instructions. I'm desperate to get my hands on a lamprey, but I'm coming up empty. Further up, there's a rock face where lampreys congregate right under the highest falls. But the risks are much greater. I don't think we have a choice.
We're going to get further into the falls.
The slick basalt is lethal. If I slip, I could be forced under and pinned down by the thundering water. I wouldn't be the first person to drown here.
Now
think we're gonna go in, try to get a good foothold so you don't get flushed over the edge. Then we're just gonna start reaching down, feeling. You're not gonna be able to see, and there's a lot of water coming over today.
Around 20,000 cubic feet per second. The only way to prise them off is to get right behind their mouths, but they're in a very deep crevice.
And there it is. This is a real first for me. This is a fish that can't be caught on a bait, on a rod and line. And there are the three fangs.
But one fish doesn't make a feast.
That's better, that's better.
Just as I've mastered my technique, I feel something hit me. Dozens of lampreys are flying out of the falls.
The fish have all spooked from this hole, so we've got to go into the even wilder water here. Can't really see, there's so much water.
Behind the torrents, lampreys are suckering their way up the 40-foot rock face to the river above. This is my last chance to seize these writhing vampires. Hoping to bag at least 30. Peter finally says we have enough.
Even though I've now got one in my hands, the lamprey is still a very hard creature to pin down. To some people it's this hideous invader, but to others it's a gift from nature. And with its snake-like body, its vampire-like feeding habits, you can well understand why for some people this has become the stuff of nightmares.
A primordial vampire that's been on the earth longer than any other river monster I've encountered. This fish is bigger than the one that got away, so I'm going to take every precaution. With my last ounce of energy, I heave it in close, and then